This could potentially go down as the worst day in the career of Daryl Morey.
I thought the turning point was just we had an open shot and, we missed. I'm disappointed.
The Brooklyn Nets are trading James Harden to Philadelphia for the 76ers.
The Ben Simmons saga is finally over, and a whole new chapter is about to unfold in Brooklyn, New York. Did the Brooklyn Nets make the right move? Did Philly give up too much for James Harden? Or did both teams just swap unhappy superstars and make out like bandits? It may be a few months before we really know the answer to that question. But since the trade is finalized, here's a few major things no one else is talking about. Let's jump in. The Ben Simmons situation has been crazy to say the least. So crazy that it's easy to forget just how good at basketball he really is. The 6'11 point guard had 3 All-Star appearances, 2 All-Defensive First Teams, and an All-NBA nod under his belt at the age of 24. The only other players to ever do that are Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Kobe Bryant, and Dwight Howard. That's it. Ben is not without his flaws, but it's hard to argue that he's not really good at basketball. I mean, he's averaging almost a triple-double for his career. But while counting stats and accolades make for a great-looking NBA resume, it's the things that Simmons brings to the court night in and night out when he's playing that definitely make him truly great. Simmons just isn't one of the best passers in the NBA for a guy his height. He's one of the best passers in the NBA, period. He can lead a fast break, facilitate out on the post, throw lobs with pinpoint accuracy, and kick to open shooters after collapsing the defense off the dribble. Simmons not only rewards cutters with wide open looks, he can actually create open looks by being a step ahead of everyone else with his passing. Players like this are amazingly fun to play with, provided they don't have any other issues, which is not the case for Ben. But the potential for him to be an elite table setter for the Brooklyn Nets is still there. Defense may actually be Ben's greatest strength, and he'd probably tell you that himself. Apparently, coaches across the league tend to agree too. At 6'11" and 240 pounds with a 7-foot wingspan, Ben has the ability to cover opposing team's best player regardless of position, and he relishes every opportunity to do so. Simmons was runner-up in the 2021 Defensive Player of the Year voting and 4th overall in 2020. The Nets are currently ranked 19th in defensive rating and 20th in opposing points per game. Ben's lockdown defense may prove to be transformative to the Nets. Simmons can be an absolute nightmare for opposing teams in the open court. A dude of his size having handle, the speed, the vision, and dexterity that he does is almost unfair. He can turn a rebound into a bucket real fast and in a number of different ways. He can run the traditional fast break, drive and kick to the open shooter, or simply attack the rim himself and throw it down with force. Simmons scored over 28% of his points last season in transition, which was close to the top of the league. The Nets ranked 10th in the league in fast break points, while the Sixers were ranked 3rd last year. We'll probably see Ben provide a huge boost to the Nets' transition game and generate easy points for sharpshooters like Patty Mills and Seth Curry. Now that you've been reminded of what makes Ben Simmons a great basketball player, let's look at some of the reasons why teams may have been a little bit hesitant to trade for him. It's not that Ben Simmons is a bad shooter. I mean, he is definitely a bad shooter, horrible even, but it's even worse than that. Simmons simply refuses to shoot at all. The average three-point attempts for the 57 players who played at least 30 minutes a night last season was 5.5. Ben Simmons took 10 over the course of the entire season and made none. He was in the bottom 5 in the entire league in three-point attempts per game with only non-shooting centers behind him. We all witnessed Ben's confidence and shooting ability implode last year in the Eastern Conference semifinals.
This floor in game 1, remember.
First time in his career, he's decided.
Tapping his way in. Spins on Gallinari. Gives it up. Oh, he was right there. And a foul as Thibault goes to the basket.
But maybe Steve Nash, one of the NBA's greatest free throw shooters, can Jedi mind trick Ben into becoming a reliable shooter.
You will become a reliable shooter.
I will become a reliable shooter.
There's also the questionable mental status and persistent off-court drama. But you guys have seen this play out for months, so let's instead get into what James Harden means for the Sixers. James Harden seems like the perfect player for the Sixers offense. Imagine a pick and roll where every single defensive option is a mismatch. Both Joel and Harden can stretch the floor and finish at the rim with ease. James is averaging 22 points, 8 rebounds, and 10 assists this season. He shoots 41% from the field and 87% from the free throw line. So there's no more hack-a-shack strategies for opposing teams to bail themselves out on the offensive end. Sixers GM Daryl Morey clearly knows how to utilize Harden's unique offensive ability. While together in Houston, Harden put up historic numbers and won the MVP in 2018. Combine that with Joel, who's averaging 29 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists this season, and you have potentially one of the most potent offensive teams in the league. Now, the process with Embiid and Simmons was a great strategy for a while, but Joel has never played with a premier point guard like Harden, someone who can simultaneously conduct the offense and create his own shot if the defense blows up their play. James Harden obviously isn't the greatest on the defensive end, but he's good enough for the Sixers. They already have a lockdown perimeter defender in Matisse Thybulle and plenty of size inside with Tobias and Joel. Overall, Philly fans are ecstatic about this trade. The Sixers title odds just went from plus 1100 to plus 600. But it may be championship or bust this year for the Sixers. Just as soon as James Harden was traded, he also signed his $47 million player option, meaning James can become an unrestricted free agent in the coming offseason. He could re-sign a max contract with the Sixers or bounce to another team, leaving Philadelphia worse off than the Toronto Raptors, who were devastated once Vince Carter left back in 2004. So what does this trade mean for the Nets and the Sixers? Well, for one thing, the Sixers finally have a ton of weight off their shoulders. The drama that this Ben Simmons situation was toxic to the team and their identity, so that's a huge relief. But now they have a whole new type of pressure: championship expectations. The Sixers are ranked 5th in the Eastern Conference, and with the addition of James Harden, everyone expects to see them go deep in the playoffs. Otherwise, this is another failed experiment in Philadelphia.
Simmons, is this the dagger?
As for the Brooklyn Nets, they'll be getting a player who can transform his team with his court vision, defensive versatility, and his ability to push the pace. Can they deal with his hangups, help him through his mental blocks, give him the support he needs, and provide him with a place where his skills can truly shine? That's going to be hard to say right now, but a new beginning is exactly what Ben needed, and it's going to be interesting to see what he does with it. Overall, I think both teams benefited from this trade, but I think the Nets actually won in this deal. It was becoming obvious that James Harden was out at the end of the season. By making this trade now, the Nets secured another All-Star and added more depth to their bench. Meanwhile, the Sixers have a ton of hope, but what if James leaves in the offseason? That could be devastating to their organization. Either way, it's a new beginning for both franchises, and I'm excited to see how it plays out in the second half of the season. So what do you think? Did the Nets or Sixers win in this trade? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoy these longer videos, hit the subscribe button and tick the notification bell. I have a ton of awesome content coming out, and I always tailor my videos for the Henry Hoops audience. So if you don't want to miss out, hit the subscribe button. Peace.
Having the team meeting, I appreciate it if you get the out so we can handle our business. So where we going, y'all? Where we going? Jamaica, Las Vegas. We gotta hit some. Get the out. You don't hear me? Am I stuttering? Get the out, man. Get out.